And so you yourself have become politicized in a way.
Little bit, yeah.
Do you feel that?
I do.
You comfortable with it?
It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Jerry Seinfeld has had quite a year. We started talking about him about 7 or 8 months ago when he was reflecting on how nauseating woke comedians have gotten, and woke journalists and left-wing propagandists trying to inflict their speech codes and morality or lack thereof on comedians who are just trying to get a laugh. And then October 7th happens, and Jerry Seinfeld, recognizing evil for what it was, it came out in full-throated support of the state of Israel, flew to Israel and visited there several times. And this has had a serious impact on his life. We reflected on the speech that he gave at the commencement for Duke University and how impactful that was. And we see a different Jerry Seinfeld, at least the public Jerry Seinfeld now, has certainly metamorphized in front of our eyes. So here he is sitting down for a long-form interview with Bari Weiss over at the Free Press. And there's portions of this that I really want to share with you because it's pretty powerful, actually.
You made Seinfeld during a period that I think will be remembered as like the golden age of American Jewish life. And
because anti-Semitism was a relic, seemingly a relic.
Yeah.
History of history books.
I think people felt like history had ended and the American Jewish experience was fundamentally singular and different from any other diaspora experience.
Right, of course.
And, well, I wonder, A, if you thought about the Jewishness of the show.
Never.
Okay. And do you think about it differently now? Now that period's over?
Yeah, well,
or ended.
When first time I went to Israel after I had finished the show, and I saw the way they reacted to me, and I realized this is not just normal interaction of celebrity public interface. This is different.
How?
I meant something, which I never knew. And it gave me a wonderful feeling like, oh, I didn't realize what I was doing had another value that I didn't know about. And I, of course, loved it.
You have always seemed just apolitical, I guess is the word, like above the fray.
Okay.
And, you know, that everything feels politicized right now.
Yeah.
And so you yourself have become politicized in a way.
Little bit, yeah.
Do you feel that?
I do.
You comfortable with it?
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. In fact, when we get protesters occasionally, I love to say to the audience, you know, I love that these young people, they're trying to get engaged with politics. We have to just correct their aim a little bit. You know, they don't seem to understand that as comedians, we really don't control anything.
Right,
you know?
right.
No one's really...
no, you're pulling the strings over the war in Gaza.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I think of you.
Yeah.
You've done a bunch of shows. Obviously, you're constantly doing shows. You did one in Syracuse in December that attracted protesters. And then they were chanting that you're complicit in genocide. Then when I gave this talk in February at the Y, there was this footage of you where they were calling you a genocide supporter and Nazi scum. And the thing that jumped out at me was not the things they were saying, of course, because they say it to anyone.
Yeah.
It's that you were smiling and waving and genuinely seemed to be enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah.
Why?
It's so silly. It's like, you know, they wanna express this, you know, sincere, intense rage, but again, a little off target.
Right, right.
Little off target. So that's, to me, comedic. You know.
You were in Israel.
Yes.
Since the war started. How was that trip?
The most powerful experience of my life.
Really?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Why?
You know, you just... You know.
Are you thinking of someone in particular?
Sorry.
So, good stuff, right? And good for Bari Weiss. Honestly, everything she's doing at the Free Press is great. And now these long form interviews that she's doing, she's not just breaking news like she did with the NPR story and the guy who sort of blew the whistle on what was going on at NPR, but she's also sort of moving the needle in terms of the larger cultural conversation we're having. So I really applaud her for the effort that she's putting in and the results that she's garnering. Um, this and listen, I'm not Jewish, okay? Although, t- so here's the thing about being Jewish. You can be a religious Jew, or you can be an ethnic Jew, or you can be both, because being Jewish is an ethnicity and it's also a religion. And actually, ethnically, I'm 25% Jewish. My maternal grandfather was Jewish, but then he married a Catholic woman. And my mother was raised Catholic, and the children were raised Catholic. So ethnically, let me put it this way: the Nazis would have probably put me on the train because of my blood, even if I didn't practice the faith. So, depending on how you look at being Jewish, um, I say this because I feel like in my life experience and also in my work experience, being in the entertainment industry, I feel like I've had pretty good exposure to all shapes and flavors of Jewish people. And the way this segment started, I think, was really instructive in terms of the American Jewish experience. There are people Jewish people in America who are culturally Jewish, but aren't really rooted in the faith as much as. And by the way, I'm echoing what's been told to me and what I've observed. But there's like this cultural Jewishness where you grow up in a Jewish neighborhood with a Jewish family and with Jewish friends, and you even get bar mitzvahed or bat mitzvahed. But it's really about being Jewish instead of actually adhering to the faith, right? You're Jewish. It's not like you keep kosher. It's not like you go to temple on a weekly basis or synagogue and all of that stuff, right? And then there are people who are incredibly observant Jewish people, and so there's this whole spectrum, and it's not different from Christians in this country as well. But the beginning of this framing here started with, you did Seinfeld, which, if you look at it in retrospect, as Bari Weiss pointed out, it's layered with American secular Jewish comedy, with American secular Jewish references. And it's a very Jewish sounding show. It feels Jewish. It's got a lot of references. And Jerry talks about his Jewish parents and all that stuff. And there's an episode where Elaine is the shiksa, that can draw men away from the faith because she's got the magic powers. Remember that one? And of course, Larry David, who took that whole genre up to another level on Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's this thing. It's part of American comedy of the last 100 years. And so I found it so revealing when she said, did you ever think about it at the time? And he goes, no, I didn't think I was doing a Jewish show. But when you look back on it now, given where we've come and given how everyone has been compartmentalized and forced to take on certain identities and put in certain categories and on certain shelves and boxed into certain quarters, if you look at it, yeah, that's what it is. But at the time, it was just funny, super funny, and popular, the number one show year after year after year after year, as well as in syndication. So what's happened? And you go on this incredible arc over that 4-minute clip that we just showed you, where Jerry Seinfeld, who never intended to present any sort of culturally significant Jewish story to America and to the world, but was just focused on being funny and using his life experience to observe everything that was funny in our society, from losing a sock in your laundry to not being able to find your car in a parking lot, to having a contest about how well you can maintain your self-control with regard to onanism. Look it up. And now he's reduced to tears after October 7th, after all the protests, after all the misguided energy where he's being called complicit in genocidal massacres. And his visit to Israel is the most powerful experience in his life that brings him to tears just thinking about it. And it's an incredible emotional and thoughtful intellectual exercise, what we just saw, from a guy who's really sort of come into his own at 70 years old to sort of recognize where we are in this country. And he sort of acknowledges that, yeah, at this point, he's become a political figure. And I think he's on the right side of the politics as far as we're concerned. And it's good to see. It's really good to see.